Webkinz, an iconic name for those who grew up playing browser games in the early 2000s and 2010s. Not only being a browser game made with Adobe Flash, but also one of the earliest Toys to Life franchises. I wonder what happened to those two genres. Oh. Despite all odds, Webkinz is still alive, and upon my replay discovered medallion pets. They were released in 2018 and are virtual-only pets you could earn by collecting enough of their respective medallions. A good chunk of medallion pets have plush counterparts. However, some of them do not. Until today, because in this video, I'm going to turn this rainbow Google into a real Webkinz. Let's get started. Now, why did I choose the rainbow Google? Judging from this selection of virtual pets, it was the easiest option, as I wouldn't have to make a pattern from scratch and instead customize an existing plush. And the regular Google being white makes it a lot easier to customize with dyes. Also, Googles are a staple to the Gans brand, and are way older than Webkinz and go back as far as the late 80s with the Gans Heritage Collection. This is my Heritage Google. I named him Robert, and he was made in 1988, which makes him 38 years old. And my final point. This is a Google household. My sister owns every official Webkinz Google minus the Kinz clip, so this is an excuse to expand the collection. The first order of business was obtaining a Google. Listings for the white Google are easy to find, luckily, and I bought this bundle for $12, plus any taxes and shipping fees. It was the cheapest listing at the time, and it came with a bonus frog. How fun. With my newly acquired Google, it was time for her to be dismembered. In order to achieve the rainbow body, I need to dye the plush. The feet and bill of the Google don't need to be dyed, so to prevent any color from potentially bleeding onto these sections, they would need to be surgically removed. I take my seam ripper and pull the seam of the plush to expose the stitches, and carefully tear the stitches connecting the two pieces. This doesn't hurt the Google. I hope. I'm only ripping the stitches, not into any fabric. A majority of Generation 1 Webkinz were made using this eyelash fabric, and I found out quickly that this fabric tears and frays easily, so I try to be careful during the seam removal. If it feels horrible to watch, trust me, it felt wrong actually tearing into it. Even my sister hated the process.
What is that? What is that? What am I looking at? Oh my. Oh, I don't like it. Oh, I don't like it.
The bill was trickier to separate due to the side seams along the body, and I overshoot my ripping. Luckily, this is an easy repair with some hand stitching. Oh god, this thing is horrifying. Once the Google has been delimbed, I remove the stuffing and beanbag. I know lots of people dye plushies without disassembly, but I want to prevent any kind of mold or mildew from developing inside the plush, so I'm taking extra precaution. By now, the Google is looking very flat, and that means the plush is ready for dyeing. I prepare a container full of hot water with a tablespoon of dish soap and a tablespoon of white vinegar mixed in. I submerge the body piece and let the Google drown for 45 minutes. While she's simmering, I get my dyes ready. Webkinz are made using polyester, so I need dye that works with synthetic fibers. Here I am preparing all of my colors: red, orange, yellow, green, and blue. I also add a small amount of boiling water to the dye. By now, the Google has finished her soak and I can get started on dyeing. This process is going to be extremely messy. I didn't have any plastic wrap, so I used this shopping bag to contain my mess. Just use a garbage bag to cover your surface. I don't know why I did it like this. Now, looking at the rainbow Google in-game, you can see that the rainbow Google has clear segments on its body for each color. And really, how do I go about dyeing the plush to actually portray the in-game Google? I started by dunking the plush in the dye, but then I was wondering how I was going to dunk the pieces in between when I had a 200 IQ idea. If you thought this couldn't get any more horrific, I get some elastic bands and tie sections into the body.
Help me! Help me!
Then I take pipettes and squeeze the colors in the respective sections. Tie-dye. This is just tie-dye. The elastic isn't too tight, and this allows the colors to bleed into each other underneath. If it was too tight, a white band would form where the elastic was tied. By now, I don't even know if this is a Google anymore. Oh, this poor girl, she didn't know what was coming. Now it's time to set the dye. My go-to method for small projects like this is a steamer. I have a pot of boiling water with a wooden steam basket on top, and the Google will sit in this basket for 60 minutes. The hot steam will set the dye in place, and I personally love this method because you can be very specific about how you place the dye on your piece, or if you aren't dyeing a fabric piece one solid color. I love this for ombre pieces, and this method works wonders if you're trying to dye synthetic yarn. And don't worry, all of the tools I use for my dye projects are for dye use only. Anything that has touch dye is no longer food safe, so I never use them for cooking. After the 60 minutes are complete, I transfer my Google into the sink so I can rinse off the excess dye. I use warm water and some soap and scrub the Google until the water no longer bleeds color. Once complete, I let her air dry for 24 hours. Here's how she looks in proper lighting. If we ignore how disfigured she is, the dye job worked perfectly, and I'm really happy with these results. Before sewing her back together, I want to give her some blue contacts. Since the in-game rainbow Google has blue eyes, I want to give this Google blue eyes as well. I mix a shade of blue and paint around the eyes, and fix any mistakes using rubbing alcohol. I seal the paint with a gloss varnish to protect my new paint job. Now she's ready to be reassembled, and this is really easy. Turn her inside out again, then align and clip the bill and legs in their respective spots. I then backstitch the pieces back to the body. It's easy for me to do this without any drawn guidelines because I can just use the previous marks left by the machine sewing as a guideline. So all I had to do was follow those previous stitches. I'm also using 4 strands of thread to sew them back to the body to make sure the stitching is really secure. As mentioned earlier, before Webkinz, Gans had a plush collection called the Heritage Collection, and if you look up Heritage Google, there are so many different Googles, different sizes, colors, and even hand puppets. Every time I look for Heritage Google listings online, I am always discovering new patterns and designs. There's a lot of speculation on what a Google even is. The popular theory is that it's just a funky looking platypus, but in earlier artwork of the Google, they kind of look like kiwi birds in my opinion. We may never know what the origins of the Google really are, but that's okay. Before sewing the last leg, I flip the plush right side out and add her plush organs back into her body. How heartwarming, she's starting to feel like herself again. Once fully stuffed, I sew the last leg in place. This already looks really nice, but you know what would make this even better? That's right, glitter. If you look at the rainbow Google, you'll notice that it has these small sparkles along its body. And I wanted to replicate that on my own plush. So to mimic that, I get some spray adhesive and lightly spray the body of the Google, and then dump a bunch of glitter on it. This wasn't really necessary, but was it fun? Oh yes. Was it messy? Of course. Not all of the glitter was going to stick, and that's okay. Now let's get a good look at those final results. I am in love with how this Google came out. The colors are perfect, and the clear color segments worked out a lot better than I was expecting. I also stuffed the bill off camera because my sister, Ever the Google expert, pointed out that the bill was also supposed to be stuffed. The bill was kind of sewn at a crooked angle, but I think that gives her a sly little smirk, so that's okay. And yes, I'm calling her a she because she's a diva and this is a girl's girl household. But I don't know what to name her, so if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you liked the video and subscribed to the channel. This video is really different to my usual projects, as this is more of a custom than a completely from scratch project, but I had fun regardless. And I hope to see you at the next video. Bye bye!